The stars looked different now. That was the first thing Tay noticed when the ship finally broke through the dimensional barrier. 870,000 years had passed since humans walked these stars. The galaxy had changed. Everything had changed. Tay stood on the bridge of the infinite echo, watching the sensor readings flood across the screens. His hand rested on the command console, steady despite the magnitude of what they were doing. Behind him, Hana worked at her station, her fingers moving through holographic displays that would have looked like magic to the humans who once lived here. "We're home," Tay said quietly. Hana looked up from her work. "This isn't home anymore. Look at the stellar charts. There are structures everywhere. Civilizations we've never seen." She was right. The galaxy was full of life now. Thousands of species had risen, built empires, and claimed the stars that humanity once knew. Massive stations orbited dead worlds. Ring structures surrounded entire suns. The empty cosmos that humans had left behind was now crowded with alien dreams. "Should we announce ourselves?" Hana asked. Tay nodded. "Open all channels. Every frequency. Let them know we're back." The message went out across the galaxy in a pulse of energy that touched every communication device, every radio telescope, every listening post. The words were simple. "This is Captain Tay of the human vessel Infinite Echo. We have returned." The response came faster than expected. A communication from something called the Galactic Concordance. Tay accepted the call. The screen filled with the image of an alien creature, insectoid in appearance, with multiple eyes and clicking mandibles. "I am Ambassador Velther of the Concordance," the creature said through its translator. "Your species. You are human. The architects?" Tay raised an eyebrow. "Architects? That is what the old records call your kind," Velther explained. His voice carried a note of fear. "You built the impossible structures. The monuments that cannot be destroyed. The stations that still function after 800,000 years. Then you vanished without explanation." "We didn't vanish," Tay said calmly. "We went somewhere else. Somewhere we needed to be." "Where?" Velther asked. "Beyond," Tay replied. "Beyond the universe itself." The ambassador's translator struggled to process the concept. Tay could see confusion in the alien's multiple eyes. How could something exist beyond the universe? It was impossible. Or at least, it should have been. "We require verification," Velther said finally. "Proof that you are who you claim to be. The Concordance governs 40,000 species. We must be certain." Tay looked at Hana. She nodded and began working at her console. "What kind of proof do you need?" Tay asked. "The legends say the architects could move stars," Velther said. "That they shaped reality like clay. Can you demonstrate such power?" Hana's fingers stopped moving. She looked at Tay with a question in her eyes. He gave a small nod. "Watch the Kepler 442 system," Hana said into the communication channel. The star was 7 planets. "Watch it carefully." Velther's image disappeared, replaced by a view from a Concordance observation station. The star system sat in space, peaceful and unchanged. Then, Hana touched a single control on her panel. The star moved. It wasn't a violent motion. The star didn't explode or jerk. It simply shifted, sliding through space as if it were a marker on a map being dragged to a new position. The 7 planets moved with it, their orbits undisturbed. In less than 30 seconds, the entire star system had relocated 40 light-years across the galaxy. "There," Hana said. "Better view from here." Velther's image returned to the screen. The ambassador's mandibles were clicking rapidly, a sign of distress. That's impossible. The energy required. The gravitational disruption. You should have torn apart half the sector. "We don't use energy the way you understand it," Tay explained. We've learned to work with the deeper laws. The ones beneath physics. What are you? Valther whispered. Tay considered the question. What were they? Not the humans who had left this galaxy so long ago. Those humans had been explorers, pioneers, dreamers who reached for the stars with chemical rockets and hope. But they had been called away. Called to fight a war that no one else could see. A war against things that lived in the spaces between dimensions. We're what humanity became, Tay said finally. We left this galaxy to protect it. There was a threat. Something vast and terrible. It would have consumed everything here. So we drew it away. We fought it in places where space and time don't exist the way you know them. And you won? Valther asked. We won, Tay confirmed. It took 200,000 years, but we won. Hannah spoke up from her station. We need to inform the Concordance about our intentions. They should know why we're back. Tay nodded. He looked directly at Valther through the screen. We seeded life on 10,000 worlds before we left. We built the foundations of ecosystems. We planted the seeds that grew into forests, oceans, and eventually sentient species. This galaxy is our garden. And now we've come back to tend it. The ambassador's clicking intensified. Those worlds are inhabited now. Billions of beings live on them. Entire civilizations. We know, Tay said. We've been watching. We're proud of what's grown in our absence. Then what do you want? Valther demanded. Tay's expression remained calm, but there was something ancient in his eyes. Something that had seen the death of universes and the birth of new laws of reality. We want to come home. We want to take our place again. And we want you to understand something very important. What? The ambassador asked. We didn't return because we missed the view, Tay said quietly. We returned because something followed us back. Something that makes our old war look like a gentle dream. And if we don't prepare this galaxy, if we don't make it strong enough to survive what's coming, then everything here will be erased. Not destroyed, erased. As if it never existed at all. The communication went silent. Valther stared at them through the screen, his alien face unreadable, but his fear obvious. The Concordance will need to meet, he said finally. All 40,000 species. We will need to decide what to do about your return. Take your time, Tay said. But not too much time. We have work to do, and the clock is already counting down. The communication ended. Hannah let out a long breath. That went better than expected. Tay smiled slightly. They'll come around. They don't have a choice. None of us do. He looked out at the stars again. The galaxy that had forgotten humanity. The garden they had planted so long ago. It was time to remind the cosmos what humans could do when they were truly needed. The infinite echo began moving deeper into known space, and reality itself seemed to shift around it. Commander Wu stood at the observation window of his flagship, the Eternal Garden, and watched the planet below. It was called Navara Prime by its current inhabitants. The humans who had seeded it 800,000 years ago had called it something else. Something simpler. Garden World 7. 7 million inhabitants, Yuri said from behind him. She was the ethics officer assigned to his fleet, and she had been questioning every decision he made since they left human space. All of them unaware that their entire evolutionary history was designed by another species. Wu didn't turn around. Not designed. Guided. There's a difference, is there? Yuri challenged. We planted the first microbes. We shaped the atmosphere. We introduced the genetic sequences that would eventually produce them. How is that not design? Wu finally turned to face her. Yuri was young by post-ascension standards, only 15,000 years old. She still remembered what it was like to think in the old ways. Before humanity, learned to reshape reality itself. Because we gave them free will, Wu said. We gave them the chance to become whatever they wanted. We just gave them the tools to do it. Before Yuri could respond, Sora entered the command center. The Zen archaeologist looked excited, her eyes bright with discovery. She carried a datapad filled with scans and analysis. You need to see this, Sora said, pulling up a holographic display. I've been studying the ancient outposts on 17 different worlds. The ones we built before we left. The hologram showed complex genetic code, spiraling patterns of DNA that looked almost like art. This is the base sequence we used, Sora explained. Look at it. Really look at it. Wu studied the patterns. He had seen genetic code before, but this was different. There was something elegant about it. Something intentional. It's beautiful, Yuri admitted quietly. It's more than beautiful, Sora said. It's modular. We designed a genetic foundation that could adapt to any environment, any evolutionary pressure. Every species in this sector shares this base code. The insectoids, the aquatic races, the silicon-based life forms. All of them trace back to our original work. Wu felt a strange mixture of pride and responsibility. How many species? 743, Sora replied. Just in this region. Galaxy-wide? Probably thousands. We were more prolific than anyone realized. Yuri shook her head. And now we're here to take it all back. To tell these civilizations that they're living in our terrarium. We're not taking it back, Wu corrected. We're resuming stewardship. There's a difference. Tell that to them, Yuri said, pointing at the planet below. Wu knew she was right. This was the difficult part. The part where humanity had to explain the truth. He took a breath and opened the communication channel to Navarre Prime. The planetary government responded immediately. Their leader, a tall humanoid with blue skin and 3 eyes, appeared on the screen. Commander Wu, we've been expecting your call. President Kelmer, Wu greeted. I assume you've heard about humanity's return. The entire galaxy has heard, Kelmer replied. His central eye narrowed with concern. The concordance is in chaos. Some species want to welcome you. Others want to fight. And some want to hide and hope you forget about them. Wu nodded. I understand the fear. But I need you to understand our position. Your world was seeded by human scientists 800,000 years ago. We planted the first life. We designed the ecosystem. And now we need to resume our care of it. Kelmer's 3 eyes widened. Resume your care? What does that mean? It means, Wu said carefully, that in 30 days, this world returns to human stewardship. We'll work with your government. Your people will not be harmed. But the ultimate authority over this world will transfer to us. The screen went silent. Kelmer seemed to be struggling to process the words. You're claiming ownership of our planet? Not ownership, Wu corrected. Stewardship. Responsibility. This is our garden, President Kelmer. You are the flowers that grew in it. And we're very proud of what you've become. We don't want your pride, Kelmer said, his voice rising. We want our freedom. We've built our own civilization. We have our own culture, our own dreams. You can't just appear after 800,000 years and claim authority over us. Yuri stepped forward. He's right, Commander. This isn't ethical. We have no right. Wu held up a hand. President Kelmer, I understand your position. But there's something you need to know. We didn't return just because we wanted to. We returned because something is coming. Something that will erase this entire galaxy if we don't prepare for it. Then help us prepare, Kelmer said. Share your technology. Teach us. But don't take away our autonomy. Before Wu could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The tactical officer shouted across the command center. multiple signatures emerging from hyperspace. It's a concordance battle fleet. Wu checked the displays. 30 warships, all heavily armed, had just appeared around Navara Prime. They were positioning themselves between Wu's fleet and the planet. This is War Prime Kelvax of the Concordance Defense Force, a harsh voice announced over open channels. Human vessels, you are hereby ordered to leave this system. Your claims of authority are not recognized. Depart now or face military action. Yuri looked at Wu with concern. What do we do? Wu studied the enemy fleet. 30 ships against his 7. In the old days, those would have been bad odds. But these weren't the old days. Humanity had learned so much during their time beyond. They had learned that reality was negotiable, that the laws of physics were more like suggestions, that with enough understanding, anything could be changed. Sora, can you access the weapon systems of those ships? Wu asked. The Xenorchaeologist nodded, her fingers moving across her console. I'm in their networks. Basic quantum encryption. Nothing we can't break. Don't break it, Wu said. Rewrite it. Sora paused. Rewrite what? Everything, Wu said calmly. I want you to remove the concept of weapons from their ships. Make them forget how to be dangerous. Yuri grabbed his arm. Commander, that's violation on a fundamental level. You're talking about rewriting reality itself. Yes, Wu agreed. I am, Sora hesitated, then began working. Her console lit up with complex equations, strings of code that described not computer programs but the underlying nature of matter and energy. She was literally reprogramming reality. It's done, she said quietly. On the view screen, the Concordance fleet suddenly went silent. Their weapons powered down, not because they were damaged or deactivated, but because they had forgotten they were weapons. The torpedo tubes didn't know they could launch projectiles. The beam cannons didn't understand they could fire. The ships themselves seemed confused, as if they had lost a fundamental part of their identity. What did you do? War Prime Kelvax demanded, his voice filled with shock. We removed your ability to hurt people, Wu explained. Your ships are fine. Your crews are safe. But they can't fire weapons anymore. They've forgotten how. President Kelmer's voice came through the channel, quiet with awe and fear. You can change reality itself. Yes, Wu said. That's what we learned out there. Beyond the universe. We learned that everything is code. Everything can be edited. And right now, we need to edit this galaxy into something that can survive what's coming. He looked at Kelmer directly. We don't want to be conquerors. We don't want to take your freedom. But we need to make this galaxy strong enough to face the storm that's approaching. And to do that, we need authority. We need the ability to make the changes that must be made. What storm? Kelmer asked. Wu's expression became grave. The kind that erases existence. The kind that makes stars forget they ever burned. And it's already on its way. Jin walked through the halls of the Concordance Grand Assembly, aware that every eye was watching him. 40,000 species had sent representatives to this meeting. 40,000 different ways of thinking, of existing, of understanding reality. And all of them were afraid of what humanity had become. They hate us, Ari whispered beside him. She was different from the other humans on the diplomatic team. Ari had been in stasis for 800,000 years. She was from the old humanity, the one that used rockets and radio waves, the one that hadn't yet learned to bend reality to their will. They don't hate us, Jin corrected. They fear us. There's a difference. I fear us too, Ari admitted. I've seen what our people can do now. What you can do. It's not natural. Jin smiled sadly. Nothing about sapient life is natural, Ari. We're all fighting against the natural order. That's what intelligence does. They entered the main chamber, a vast amphitheater that could hold thousands of delegates. The room fell silent as Jin took his position at the central podium. Above him, holographic displays showed representatives from species across the galaxy. Some were physical beings. Others were energy patterns. Some existed in dimensions Jin couldn't fully perceive. War Prime Kalvax was the first to speak. He was a massive creature, armored and fierce, from a warrior species that had dominated 3 sectors. Explain yourselves, human. Explain what you've become and why we shouldn't unite to destroy you. Jin took a breath. This was the moment that mattered. We didn't evolve, he began. Not in the traditional sense. We made a choice. 200,000 years ago, we detected something in the void between dimensions. Something vast and hungry. It was moving toward this galaxy, toward all of you, and nothing we could stop it. He pulled up holographic images, showing the entities his words describe. They were difficult to look at. Things that hurt the eyes and confused the mind. Shapes that shouldn't exist in normal space. They're called the Hollow Ones, Jin continued. They consume meaning itself. Not matter. Not energy. Meaning. Purpose. Existence. They can make a star forget it ever burned. Make a species forget it ever existed. They erase things from reality retroactively. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Some delegates were skeptical. Others looked worried. We couldn't fight them as we were, Jin explained. So we changed. We learned to manipulate the fundamental code of reality. We learned to exist on multiple dimensional layers simultaneously. We essentially became administrators of the universe itself. You became gods, Kalvax said, his voice dripping with contempt. No, Jin said firmly. Gods are worshipped. We're more like gardeners, maintenance workers. We learned how to fix reality when it breaks. Ari stepped forward suddenly. I need to say something. Her voice was shaking, but determined. I'm from before humanity changed. And I want you all to know that what we've become terrifies me. I don't understand my own species anymore. They can rewrite physics like editing text. They can remove concepts from existence. They're so far beyond what we used to be that I barely recognize them as human. The assembly listened intently. Here was a human who shared their fear. But, Ari continued, I've also seen what we're facing. I've seen the recordings of the Hollow Ones, and I understand why my species did this. They didn't become monsters. They became what was necessary. And if they had stayed like me, then everything in this galaxy would already be gone. Before anyone could respond, new alarms echoed through the chamber. A delegate rushed to the podium, her form flickering with panic. War Prime! We're receiving distress signals from the Outer Rim Defense Fleet. They're under attack by an unknown force. Kalvax stood immediately. Put it on screen. The holographic displays changed, showing a space battle. But it wasn't a normal battle. One side was a Concordance fleet of hundreds of ships. The other side was a single figure floating in space without a suit or ship. A human woman. That's Myra, Jin said quietly. Ari stared at the screen in disbelief. Is she fighting an entire fleet alone? Yes, Jin confirmed. They watched as Myra moved through the void. She didn't have weapons. She didn't fire projectiles or energy beams. Instead, ships simply ceased to exist as she passed near them. Not exploded, not destroyed. They simply stopped being real. Kalvax was shouting orders into his communicator. All ships retreat, fall back. She's erasing you from His words cut off as another ship vanished. Then another. Myra wasn't killing the crews. She was editing the ships out of reality, making it so they had never been built. The crews found themselves floating in space in emergency pods, confused about where their vessels had gone. Make her stop. Kalvax roared at Jin. Jin spoke calmly into his communicator. Myra, that's enough. Stand down. The woman on the screen paused. She turned toward the nearest sensor platform and spoke. They fired first. I was demonstrating restraint. I know, Jin said. But we need them to understand we're not their enemy. Myra nodded and vanished, teleporting away. The battle was over. 300 ships had been edited out of existence without a single death. It was perhaps the most terrifying demonstration of power the Concordance had ever witnessed. The assembly chamber was silent. Then Kalvax spoke, his voice hollow. What are you? Jin chose his words carefully. We're what happened when humanity had to fight something worse than anything you've ever imagined. We're what survival looks like when the normal rules don't apply anymore. And you expect us to just accept you? A delegate asked. To welcome you back after you disappeared for 200 millennia? No, Jin said. I expect you to understand the truth. We didn't come back to conquer you. We came back because the Hollow Ones followed us. We won the war beyond, but some of them survived. And they tracked us back to our home galaxy. The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouting, demanding explanations, expressing fear. Jin raised his voice over the chaos. In approximately 6 months, the first Hollow Ones will arrive at the Galactic Rim. When they do, they'll begin erasing everything. Stars, planets, civilizations. They'll work their way toward the core, unmaking everything in their path. And the only reason you have any chance of survival is because we're here now. Because we know how to fight them. Kalvax slammed his fist on his podium. Then teach us. Share your power. Give us the ability to defend ourselves. We can't, Jin said sadly. The process took us 200,000 years. The transformations required to become what we are. They're not something that can be taught quickly. Your species would need to completely reimagine their existence. And we don't have that kind of time. So we're helpless, another delegate said, dependent on you for survival. Yes, Jin admitted. I'm sorry, but yes, that's the reality we're all facing. Ari spoke up again. I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking it too. How can we trust them? How can we put our survival in the hands of beings who can rewrite reality itself? But I've talked with them. I've listened to their stories. And I believe they're still human, still capable of compassion and love and hope. They just express it on a scale we can't comprehend. Jin looked at the assembly. We need you to work with us. To let us fortify this galaxy. To let us turn it into something the Hollow Ones can erase. It will require changes. Big changes. Your civilizations will be different afterward, but they'll still exist. That's what matters. And if we refuse? Kalvax asked. Jin's expression became sad. Then we'll watch as you're erased from existence. We'll mourn you, and we'll continue the fight alone. But please don't make us do that. We came back to save our garden, all of it, including the beautiful things that grew while we were away. The vote took hours. Species arguing, debating, some threatening war. But in the end, the reality was clear. Humanity offered the only chance of survival. The alternative was erasure. The final count was close. 39,847 species voted to accept human stewardship. 153 refused and demanded to be evacuated to an unprotected zone. Jin honored their choice. Humanity would save those who wanted to be saved, and mourn those who didn't. The shift was coming. They stood in the Defense Coordination Center, watching 1,000 holographic displays simultaneously. Each one showed a different sector of the galaxy, a different fortification being built, a different species learning to accept humanity's presence. His job was to turn the entire galaxy into a fortress. He had 3 months to do it. The Outer Rim installations are complete, an officer reported. We've placed reality anchors on 4,000 worlds. They're functioning within normal parameters. Day nodded, but his attention was focused on something else. Something that shouldn't be there. A dark spot on one of the sensors. Not an absence of light, an absence of meaning. Jan, he called to the quantum scientist working at the adjacent station. Look at Sector 973. Tell me what you see. Yoon pulled up the data, her eyes scanning the readings. Then she went very still. That's impossible. It's not impossible if it's happening, they said. What is it? A dimensional collapse point, Yoon said, her voice barely above a whisper. The barriers between realities are breaking down. Something is pushing through. They felt cold. They had known this was coming, but not this soon. Not this fast. How long do we have? Yoon's calculations flowed across her screen in complex equations. Hours, maybe a day. Whatever's coming through is moving fast. Sound the alert, they ordered. All fleets to defensive positions. All civilians to evacuate from the outer rim sectors. And someone find Ho. We need him. Ho was in the medical wing when they found him. He was sitting alone in a darkened room, his eyes closed, breathing slowly. The former Ascension warrior looked peaceful, but Day knew the truth. Ho was suffering. He had fought the Hollow Ones for 50,000 years in the dimensional war. The things he had seen, the battles he had fought, they had left scars that went deeper than flesh. We need you, Day said from the doorway. Ho opened his eyes. They were old eyes, despite his young face. They're here, aren't they? Yes. Ho stood slowly like a man walking toward his own execution. I knew they would come. I told Tay. I told all of them. The Hollow Ones don't give up. They don't forget. They're like hunger itself. Endless and patient. Can we stop them? They asked. I don't know, Ho admitted. We stopped them before, but that was different. That was their territory. This is ours. And we're trying to protect something. That makes us vulnerable. They walked together to the command center. Tay was already there, along with Hana and dozens of other human commanders. The main display showed the dimensional collapse point growing larger. Reality was literally tearing apart at the seams. Status report. Tay ordered .UN step forward. The collapse is accelerating. Whatever's coming through is forcing the dimensional barriers open. I'm reading massive reality distortions. The laws of physics in that region are becoming unstable. Get everyone out of there, Tay said. Every ship, every station, move them to safe zones. It's too late, Hana said quietly. She pointed at the screen. Look, something was emerging from the collapse point. It was difficult to perceive, even with their advanced sensors. The Hollow One appeared as a void in space, but not empty space. This was active nothing. Hungry nothing. It consumed the stars around it, but not by eating them. It erased them. Made them forget they had ever existed. 3 star clusters vanished in an instant. Billions of stars, countless planets, untold lives. Not destroyed. Simply retroactively removed from reality. They had never been there. The light they had shed across the cosmos for millions of years ceased to exist. The planets that had orbited them found themselves floating in empty void, confused about where their suns had gone. By all the laws of physics, Yoon whispered. It just erased 12 billion years of stellar evolution. Ho stepped forward, his face grim. That's what they do. They don't just kill. They unmake. They consume meaning and purpose. That's why we couldn't beat them in normal ways. How do you fight something that makes you question whether you ever existed? Tay looked at his old friend. But we did beat them. We found a way. Yes, Ho agreed. We learned to exist on multiple dimensional layers. We made ourselves too complex to erase. We became ontologically privileged. Reality itself treats us as administrators, remember? We can't be deleted because we're part of the operating system now. But the rest of the galaxy isn't, they said. Every species here, every civilization, they're still vulnerable. If the Hollow Ones focus on them, they'll be erased, Ho finished, as if they never existed. And no one will even remember to mourn them because the memory of them will be gone too. Tay turned to face his team. Then we moved to the next phase. We need to contact the Concordance. Tell them we're implementing the shift ahead of schedule. They're not ready, Hana protested. We haven't finished the preparations. Half the species haven't even been briefed on what the shift will do to them. We don't have a choice, Tay said. Look at the projections. If we don't shift the galaxy now, the Hollow Ones will reach populated space within a week. How many species will be erased in that time? Yoon pulled up the calculations. The numbers were horrifying. Conservative estimate? 300 species. Maybe more. They'll cease to have ever existed. The room fell silent. 300 civilizations, their entire histories, their art and music and dreams, all erased. Not just destroyed, but removed from the timeline itself. Send the message, Tay ordered. All concordant species, all human fleets. We're beginning the shift. Ambassador Velther appeared on the communication screen, his insectoid features showing clear signs of stress. Captain Tay, we've seen what happened at the Rim. The reports are... I don't have words. Entire star clusters just gone. Is it true they never existed? It's true, Tay confirmed. The Hollow Ones don't destroy. They erase. And they're coming toward the galactic core. We need to implement the shift now. But our people aren't ready, Velther protested. You said it would change us at the quantum level. That we'd be different afterward. We need more time to prepare. There is no more time, Tay said firmly. The shift will move this galaxy to a different dimensional frequency. The Hollow Ones won't be able to perceive us anymore. We'll be invisible to them. But yes, it will change you. It will change everything. How? Velther demanded. Hannah spoke up. Physics will be different. Faster than light travel will become natural instead of difficult. Entropy will become negotiable. Consciousness will be able to link across vast distances. You'll be more than you are now. But you'll still be you. Your memories, your identities, those remain. Velther's translator clicked with distress. And if we refuse? Then you stay here and get erased, Tay said bluntly. I'm sorry, but those are the options. Shift and change or stay and cease to exist. Another communication came through. It was Kolvax, the War Prime. His voice was defeated. We've lost contact with 17 border worlds. Not destroyed. Just gone. Our historians can't remember if they ever existed. Our star charts don't show them. It's like they were never there. They weren't, Ho said. Not anymore. The Hollow Ones removed them from the timeline. They never happened. Kolvax stared at the screen in horror. How do we fight something like that? You don't, Tay said. We do. And the way we fight them is by taking the battlefield away. We're going to move this entire galaxy somewhere they can't follow. The War Prime looked old suddenly, ancient, and tired. Do what you must. Just save what you can. Tay nodded and closed the communication. He looked around at his team. Hannah, begin the calculations for the shift. Yoon, coordinate with all reality anchor stations. Day, prepare the defense fleets. When we shift, there might be turbulence. We need to be ready. What about me? Oh, asked. Tay put a hand on his friend's shoulder. You rest. You fought enough. This battle, we fight together. All of us. On the main display, another star cluster vanished. The Hollow Ones were coming closer. and the galaxy was running out of time to escape. The countdown to the shift began. The galaxy was dying. That was the simple truth that every sensor confirmed. In the 3 days since the Hollow Ones arrived, 47 star systems had been erased. Not destroyed, erased. They simply stopped existing, and reality rewrote itself to pretend they had never been there. Tay stood on the bridge of the infinite echo, watching the reports come in. Species that had existed for millions of years were gone. Civilizations that had built wonders were removed from the timeline. And worst of all, no one could mourn them properly because the memories of them were fuzzy, uncertain, like trying to remember a dream. The anchors are in position, Hana reported from her station. All 10,000 reality anchor points are synchronized and ready. We can begin the shift whenever you give the order. Tay looked at the galactic map. 10,000 points of light spread across the galaxy in a precise pattern. Each one was a station built by humanity, designed to change the fundamental frequency of reality in its region. Together, they would shift the entire galaxy to a new dimensional layer. What's the status of the evacuation? Tay asked. Wu's voice came through the communication system. All willing species have been moved to safe zones within the shift perimeter. The 153 species that refused, they've been relocated to the outer rim territories. They'll remain on the current dimensional frequency. They'll be erased, Yuri said quietly. She had been against this plan from the start, but even she understood there was no other choice. They made their choice, Jin said, though his voice was heavy with sadness. We offered them survival, and they chose freedom instead. We have to respect that, even if it means watching them die? Yuri challenged. Even then, Jin confirmed. Another alarm sounded. Yoon looked up from her calculations, her face pale. The Hollow Ones are accelerating. They're moving toward the core faster than predicted. At this rate, they'll reach the major population centers in less than a day. Tay made his decision. Begin the shift. All stations, activate on my mark. Hannah's hands moved across her controls. Ready. All anchors responding. Power levels nominal. Reality matrix stable. Across the galaxy on 10,000 worlds, massive structures came to life. They weren't machines in the traditional sense. They were more like tuning forks for reality itself. Devices that could change the fundamental frequency at which matter and energy existed. Mark, Tay said. The shift began. It wasn't instant. Reality doesn't change easily. The anchors sent out waves of altered physics, spreading from each point like ripples in a pond. Where the waves passed, the fundamental nature of existence changed. Atoms vibrated at different frequencies. Light moved at different speeds. Time flowed at different rates. And every living being within those waves felt the change. On a concordance world called harmony, a mother held her child as the wave passed over them. For a moment, she felt like she was in two places at once, like she existed across multiple realities simultaneously. Then the feeling passed, and she was just herself again, but different. She could feel her thoughts connecting to others around her, not reading minds, but sensing the presence of consciousness nearby. Her child laughed with delight, seeing colors that hadn't existed a moment before. On the warrior world of Kelm, Kalvax stood with his soldiers as the shift reached them. They felt their bodies change at the quantum level. Suddenly, they understood concepts that had been impossible before. They could see the threads that connected all things. They could feel the pulse of the galaxy itself. And they realized with wonder that they were stronger now. Not just physically, but fundamentally. They existed on a deeper level than before. On the water world of Deep Song, aquatic beings felt the shift as a song that resonated through every molecule of the ocean. They sang back, their voices harmonizing with the new frequency of reality. And to their amazement, the ocean answered. The water itself seemed to become alive with possibility. Species after species felt the transformation. Some were frightened. Others were amazed. But all of them survived. All of them remained themselves, just more. On the infinite echo, Hana monitored the progress. The shift is propagating successfully. 93% of the galaxy has transitioned. No major casualties reported. Some species are experiencing disorientation, but they're adapting quickly. What about the hollow ones? TAS.EUN checked their sensors. They're still there on the old dimensional frequency, but they can't perceive us anymore. To them, we've vanished. The galaxy no longer exists in their reality. They're searching, Ho said, watching the display. He could see the hollow ones moving through space, reaching out with their reality-erasing touch, trying to find the galaxy that had disappeared. They know we're here somewhere. They can feel the disruption we caused. But they can't see us, can't touch us. On the screen, one of the hollow ones reached the location where a major population center used to be. It swept through the region, erasing everything on its frequency. But the cities were no longer there. They had shifted to a new reality, invisible and unreachable. They're furious, Ho said with grim satisfaction. They came all this way for nothing. But then something appeared on the sensors that made everyone freeze. A massive presence, far larger than the other hollow ones. Something that felt like concentrated void, like the absence of everything. The Hollow Sovereign, Ho whispered. The leader of their kind. I fought it once, during the war. Barely survived. The entity moved through space, and where it passed, reality itself seemed to scream. It was searching for the galaxy, probing different dimensional frequencies, trying to find where humanity had hidden. Tay opened a communication channel, not to his fleet but outward, toward the Hollow Sovereign itself. The entity couldn't perceive them normally, but Tay deliberately lowered the dimensional frequency of his ship, making it visible. Don't, Hana warned. If it sees you, it needs to see me, Tay said. We need to send a message. The Hollow Sovereign noticed the ship immediately. It turned its attention toward them, and the crew felt the weight of that gaze. It was like being watched by the concept of nothing itself. A voice that wasn't a voice echoed in their minds. You cannot hide from the void. We are the nothing between all things. We will find you. We will unmake you. Tay stood tall, projecting his words across dimensions. You followed us here because you thought we were fleeing. You thought we were afraid. But we didn't run. We prepared. This galaxy is our garden. These species are under our protection. And you will never touch them. We have erased galaxies, the Sovereign replied. We have consumed entire realities. You are nothing. Or something you can't digest anymore, Tay said. We've changed. Evolved, shifted. We're not hiding from you. We're becoming something you can't perceive. Something you can't erase. He signaled to Hana. She activated the final phase of the shift. The dimensional frequency of the entire galaxy changed one more time, moving even further from the Hollow One's reality. And as it did, something remarkable happened. The species of the galaxy, all 40,000 of them, felt their consciousness linked together, not as a hive mind, but as a network. Individual but connected. Each species maintained its identity, its culture, its dreams. But now they could sense each other across the stars, feel each other's presence, share thoughts and ideas instantly. And humanity, at the center of it all, shared their knowledge. The secrets they had learned beyond. The power to manipulate reality. The understanding of the deeper laws. Not all of it. That would take time, but enough. Enough to make every species in the galaxy post-ascendant. Enough to make them all gardeners of reality itself. On harmony, The mother holding her child suddenly understood how to reshape matter with thought. On Kelm, Kalvax realized he could move through dimensions. On Deep Song, the aquatic beings learned to sing reality into new forms. The galaxy had become something new, something the Hollow Ones had never encountered. Tay looked at the Sovereign One last time. We left as humans. We returned as guardians. We stay as gardeners. And this garden is close to you forever. He raised the dimensional frequency, and the ship vanished from the Sovereign's perception. The Hollow Ones were left alone in empty space, searching for a galaxy that no longer existed in their reality. The shift was complete. Days later, Tay walked through the gardens on the human capital world. Hana was there, watching the sunset. Or what looked like a sunset. Colors existed now that hadn't before. The sky was painted in shades that had no names. We did it, Hana said softly. We did, Tay agreed. The galaxy is safe. The species are evolving into something new. The Hollow Ones are locked out. At what cost? Hana asked. We changed everything. Every species, every planet. The galaxy will never be what it was. No, Tay said. But it will be better. Look. He pointed to a nearby clearing where a young alien child played. The child was from one of the species that had feared humanity most. But now, the child was creating a flower with pure thought, shaping reality like clay. The flower bloomed in impossible colors, and the child laughed with pure joy. A human child ran over to join them. Together, they created a tree, a stream, a rainbow. They were building a new world together, one thought at a time. That's our legacy, Tay said. Not conquest, not domination. Teaching, sharing, growing together. Myra walked up behind them,